Hello, this is Gen183, and this is episode 4 of the Lotus My Team Career Mode on F1 2020. And you can see I was just showing off the livery here because I didn't show it actually at the start of the season. But there it is in its nice green, white, and gold little number. And we're also going to upgrade, I think, one of the aerodynamic things I think I ended up going for. Because, yeah, we've got a bit of money to spare. And it was a thing that allows you to build simultaneous upgrades. Yeah, it's actually durability, my bad. So yeah, that should help us out with the R&D. And this car is getting a little bit better now. I think there was a major air upgrade that came onto the car this weekend. So that's made it fairly okay to drive, really, especially in the corners. Like, we're up there with the, almost up there with Renault now, I think. We're definitely ahead of Haas and AlphaTauri and Williams, obviously. So yeah, luckily, Chinese Grand Prix at Shanghai is a track that I know very well, and I do really enjoy this track, so hoping for a good weekend. And yeah, it meant I could go straight into the practice programs without having to learn the track like I did last time in Hanoi, which took me about an hour to do. But yeah, straight into programs. You can see picking up 50 or 30 points in most of them. I couldn't actually do the quali test, quali pace again because I was just too slow. So yeah, it's a bit of a worry that I couldn't do that. But ERS management, fairly straightforward there. And yeah, getting a lot of points here for the team. And also the one of the sponsor goals is the 75 laps each weekend. So making sure to do enough laps to get those in. And yeah, straight into qualifying now. The practice is pretty straightforward. And Q1, I'd be kind of hopeful to get out of Q1, although I did turn my AI up again slightly to 105 AI now for China, and that's probably what I'll stay on for a little bit because it's fairly good this race. You see Verstappen set 29.9 already, which I'm going to be nowhere near if I bank a lap in quali. Using the soft tyres, trying to set a good time, but it's already in the 32s. It might even be a 33, yes, a 33.0, which puts me between the two Williams cars there, which is pretty dreadful. You can see end of the session now is my last run, and Delatraz is just behind me in 21st, so I'm pretty much where the car could be on pace, but I think I'm a better driver than Delatraz, so I should be a lot higher up realistically. Short shifting pretty gradually through the downshifting, gradually through the gears, and a second gear for the turn 4 and then out on the exit. Trying to take as much speed as possible. You can see it about a tenth and a half up now and down towards turn 6. Obviously flat out through 5 and keeping it in. Actually shifting up to 8th, breaking down the second gear, 100-meter board. Getting it turned in nicely, but not quite slow enough as I'm over the curb on exit. That's going to cost me about half a tenth of a second. And out through the high-speed S section, 7th gear. Could have turned in a little bit later. I think I'm going to run a little bit wide, which hasn't given me the best run through here. So go down to 4th gear, try and keep it to the right as possible, but not quite gripping up, really. The car just lacks a bit of mechanical grip still. The chassis isn't great. And yeah, out of the middle sector now, coming down towards the snail section. We're only 2 tenths up, which isn't fantastic. You see a tenth off Gasly, which I could possibly make up, but they're not like doing that. I locked up massively into the snail section. That's going to really hamper my exit. And yeah, I'm still gaining a little bit of time because my first lap was pretty poor, but yeah, I could have gained a lot more time there by not locking up and taking a much better line. And obviously straight on blast down towards the second last corner, opening DRS, foot to the floor for about 15 seconds it feels like, and then braking just before the 100-meter board. You can make very late on this game. We're braking a little bit too late there, locked up the front right again, and yeah, that's going to hamper my exit quite a bit, not getting quite the perfect line, and up into the 7th gear, down to back to 4th for the final corner. Try not to run wide, but run a little bit wide there, lose a bit of time, which is going to leave me in 19th place on the grid, which isn't fantastic. That lap was very scrappy. There was definitely more time to find there. And yeah, you can see out in Q1, obviously, 19th place ahead of the Williams and my teammate Delatraz, which is pretty much to be expected. You can see 6 tenths of the next car, Ken Magnussen, which, yeah, was going to be quite difficult to make up at the best of times, really. But yeah, it's a completely dry race once again. No wet weather in its career mode yet. Medium hard, I would decide to go for, and it's going to be a 28 lap race. So here we are for the 5 red lights for the Shanghai Chinese Grand Prix. And it's lights out, and away we go. A fairly decent start. I think we're getting a hanger starts in this game now. You can see we've overtaken the car on the left of Magnussen already, and ahead of Giovinazzi, and 2 AlphaTauris ahead. Try to swing it up the inside if I can, but no, they're on the inside line. We're trying to keep it as narrow as possible, really getting the track position early on lap 1. We're up the inside, both AlphaTauris and Kimi Raikkonen there, up into 13th place. We're going to have to hold it around the outside of turn 3 now. And there is Stroll just ahead, and Perez and Ocon going side by side, so not quite a little bit of oversteer there as well, but we managed to get ahead of Raikkonen completely, and using an overtake mode down towards turn 6, and Stroll is going to brake early. We're going to send it on him, almost at the back of Perez, but we just about get slowed down, and that has meant we're up into, well, no, we're not up into 12th place, sorry. Stroll's going to hold it around the outside and just have pull away in his racing point, but we're up to 13th. That's a lot of positions gained. I think 6 places in turn 1, 2, and 3. Into 13th place. We're going to stay on board for the rest of lap 1 because it was pretty hectic. And you can see Raikkonen still all over me, really, and just trying to stay with this train really. And yeah, it's a very good start. I think the race pace is probably going to be a bit stronger than quali pace because I've been trying to be a bit consistent, but that's not consistent at all. We're well wide at the exit of the turn 11, I think that was, and into the snow section now. We're not quite close enough to Stroll really. But down into this section, I found my launch off this corner was so good the whole weekend, and you can see putting up into overtake nice and early there, and that's going to give me a lot of power through the gears, and we've left Raikkonen for dead really, 6/10 of a second. We're actually all over the back of Stroll. We've obviously got the same power unit, but I think their car is faster in a straight line, but not on this occasion. We've gone straight past Stroll, and that's going to give us a chance on Perez as well, is it? We're going to pull to the inside. How early is he going to brake? Very early, almost weaves on me as well, so that was incredibly tight with Sergio Perez up the inside of the final corner, try and get a nice traction zone, forcing him over the curb on the exit, and that's going to give me the position into the final corner. He's keeping it the inside though. We're going to have to swing it round the outside. He's going to take a lot of curb, the Mexican, in the racing point, and we're just about going outside and up into 11th place. So I think that's 9 places or 8 places on lap 1, and we're up into 11th, 1 place off the points, and Perez still inside. We're just about going to turn in and force him out and take that place. I think Stroll's also gone around the outside of Perez as well, so good move from the Canadian to be ahead of his teammate. But yeah, that was pretty much it for the first 6 laps. A few of the soft drivers would come into the pit, so up into 7th place. You see Verstappen and Bottas are in the pits as well. And yeah, I was just sort of gapping the drives behind. I had quite a bit of pace. It was surprising to see. But yeah, let's look at the replay at the start. And you can see Bottas and Hamilton this time on the front row. I think the patch that happened before this race just nerfed the Ferraris ever so slightly, so they're not going to dominate all the time anymore. You can see I was about 17th here alongside Giovinazzi, and then 2 AlphaTauris just sort of went wide. I just sort of put my nose in there and got ahead of both of them, and then Kimi Raikkonen as well, around the outside of turn 3. And the Finn had nothing to defend against around the outside, and that gave me a good chance. It wasn't a great exit, but I think Stroll and Perez had to brake so early because of the concertinaing of everyone else up ahead. We've seen it quite a few times this season. I was just able to send it on Stroll. Obviously didn't make the move stick on that occasion, but it allowed me to line him up down the back straight. And yeah, coming on to lap 7 now. Into 5th place actually. We've still got Stroll behind. The pace in the middle sector wasn't great. Actually, Sebastian Vettel's out of the race, and that's a safety car deployed for the 4th race in a row. It was just a mechanical issue for Vettel, so yeah, obviously not parking it very well, so the FIA feel the need to throw a safety car out. I actually elected to stay out and take track position because my medium tyres were still doing okay. I think they're on about 30%. And the pit window was lap 13, so I wasn't confident of getting to the end in a healthy manner. Obviously, it's not a manner, it's a Lotus, but I wasn't confident of getting to the end on the hards from here, so I decided to stay out, take track position. You can see Esteban Ocon has also stayed out. That's going to leave me in 2nd place with Stroll in 3rd, so it's a very mixed up order with Raikkonen and Gasly in 4th and 5th. You can see on top left there, Ocon in his Renault. Trying to get a good restart. I'm trying to stay with him, potentially take a bit of DRS, and because he's definitely faster than me. But if I can try and stay with him, but that is not what's going to happen. He's absolutely left me for dead on the around the final corner, and Stroll is going to be all over me as turn 1. It looks like I'm going to use ERS and rich mix down towards turn 1. We'll say a lot of that now up in the safety car period. But my tyres are not quite up to temperature, going to run a little bit wide, and Stroll's going to have a chance up the inside. We're going to have to defend here and try just to force him over the curbs. A little bit of contact, but no damage done. And that is Stroll having to stay behind for the time being, but down towards turn 6, he might have another opportunity. We've got to use a bit of overtake, I think, down towards the next corner. But actually, I've not decided to, and Stroll's going to have a good chance. Can he send it? It's turn 6. No, he thinks better of it. I probably would have gone for it there, but he's an AI, so isn't quite as aggressive as I am. But yeah, through the middle sector should be fairly straightforward. And yeah, lap 10, I think it's the same lap, but you can see Ocon has already got 2 seconds, and Stroll is right behind me. You can see the gap is 4/10 coming through this corner, and we're going to swing up into overtake mode and absolutely leave him in the dust. And you can see 7/10 now in before we get onto the straight, and that has left him absolutely no chance. It's gone to 8.5, 9/10 of a second. So if I can just keep doing that, that's really the only opportunity to overtake down the back straight. And you can see a few more cars in the pits. That is actually Stroll and Ocon as well. So I'm going to be leading the race in my 4th ever race. The Lotus F1 team is still very young, and Hamilton is just behind, so he's going to try and spoil the party, and he's pretty much going to spoil it straight away, well, like half a lap later. I'm going to pit this lap. The pit window was 13, but obviously with the safety car we have to save the tyres a bit more. Hamilton's going to go back into the lead of the race. So it's very short-lived, but yeah, our first lap led, I believe, because we did cross the line in 1st place on the previous lap. A little bit of oversteer exit. You can see how much Hamilton's bolted away already. We're nowhere near fighting those sorts of drivers yet. And into the pit lane for my one and only stop of the race, exactly at half distance. So a fairly standard strategy, really. Slowing it down to 50 mile an hour. And it's going to be very interesting to see where we come out in relation to Stroll, because he was obviously just behind me by like less than a second, and he'll have a 1 lap undercut. And actually Deltraz in the pits as well, so I'm going to screw him over, but who really cares? He's not got much chance of scoring points anyway. Into the pit lane, it's going to be a pretty slow stop. It looks like a 2.8, but obviously still very inexperienced. And there goes Ocon in his run over. It's going to be very close to Stroll. We just try and stay ahead of him. It's important because he's got the pace, but not the can't overtake me in the first stint, so second stint's going to be pretty similar probably. So coming through the first corner with just about stayed ahead, and the undercut, sorry, wasn't successful for Stroll, but it's going to be Bottas next car behind me because he's overtaken Stroll. But we're trying to stay ahead into the first complex of corners once again. Gone a little bit wide there. Valtteri Bottas, the other Mercedes driver, is going to try and stick his nose in, but not quite. And you can see on the top left, we've got a 1.4 second gap to Stroll, which is fairly good, because if he's not a DRS, then he shouldn't really have any chance at all. Bottas is going to go down the outside. Going to sort of let him through, because there's not really much point in fighting, but actually he's going to do a double lock-up and really hamper my progress to that corner, and that's going to Stroll back into my DRS. So cheers, Valtteri, for that one. Not very helpful, but you can see lap 16, a few laps later, going around the middle sector and the Snell section now. Stroll just behind, 0.6 of a second, and once again we're going to flip it on to overtake, but this time the overtake mode is actually kind of a little bit too early. My hards are not up to temperature. We've gone so wide there. That is absolutely awful, that line. And yeah, Stroll in my DRS. Leclerc also in the Ferrari, which is not as quite as OP as it was in the previous races, but he's going to try and go past Stroll. I'm going to give him a bit of slipstream because I'd rather Leclerc get through than Stroll. But Stroll is going to send it into the hairpin, try and leave him space on the inside, get a good exit, which is exactly what we've done. Stroll's actually stayed ahead of Leclerc as well, which is okay for me, I suppose, because Leclerc is going to get past me whatever happens, to be fair. Bottas actually set the fastest lap, so he's absolutely gone. But you can see a few more cars in the pits from the mediums onto the hards, and we're back up into 8th place, which is exactly where we finished in Hanoi, and we're up into 7th now. Another car into the pits one lap later, and this time Leclerc has got past Stroll fairly comfortably, and he's now on the back of me. You can see the gap to Lance is 1.3 seconds in the top left. The drivers ahead are absolutely gone, especially Ocon, who we were battling a little bit earlier in the race. But yeah, not quite got the pace over the Renault yet, and Leclerc's all over me in the slipstream. Going to let him through into turn 1. No point fighting really with 10 laps to go. He's just going to easily have the pace over me. So we're going to try and consolidate this position though. 8th place would be a fantastic result. We got it back in Hanoi, and we might be getting it again here. A few hours later, like 22, you can see Stroll is 0.4 of a second, 0.5 of a second back into the entry of the Snell section. He definitely had the pace in the corners, but out of the exits onto the big straights, like this one here, you can see putting it into overtake mode and just absolutely launching off the corner. It's going to be 6.5, 7 tenths by the time we even open DRS, and that's not going to give Stroll any chance at all to get past. And all this time as well, Raikkonen just wasn't really closing. So if we can hold off Stroll and just keep the gap to Raikkonen, it should be a fairly comfortable 8th place, it looks like. Maybe 9th if Stroll does get me. But still, points are very much coming for this Lotus F1 team. And it's the very last lap of the race, we managed to just hold off Stroll like that every single lap. It was a fairly, not the most exciting race, obviously, but I will happily take it. It was very fun pushing all the time, trying to get those good exits, focusing so hard throughout the whole lap. And you see Hamilton has won by an absolute country mile. And yeah, Stroll just behind me into this final sector. It's been a little bit closer than usual, actually. We've not got a great run through the first part of the Snell section either. And through the second part, running a little bit wide, almost on the curve, so not quite. And this is the important bit, just trying to get a good exit onto the back straight. And you can see the gap went up by at least 3 tenths there, maybe in 4 tenths of a second. But Stroll is a little bit closer this time. He might have a chance if he's got ERS saved up, because I've used all of mine. So down towards the final corner, no, he's nowhere near. So it should be fairly comfortable. And yeah, he's nowhere near close enough for a move. Taking a nice apex on the second last corner and through down towards the final corner. It's going to be another 8th place finish. Leclerc was a long way ahead. I don't quite know how he got into this, but I guess the safety car played into our hands a little bit. And yeah, it's another 4 points on the board, and it's up to 8 points for the season. I'm very happy with that. And that was a very fun race. Obviously, having the pace, I probably didn't have the pace over the racing points, but I definitely had the pace over the likes of Kimi Raikkonen, another driver of the day as well. I love that. I definitely had the pace over Raikkonen, and yeah, everyone else had the points, just was absolutely nowhere. I was never really under pressure from the likes of the McLarens, who were on 2 stops actually, so that's probably why. And the AlphaTauris definitely were slower than me. So yeah, I think I'm definitely decent at China, but I don't know if I'm that good. Maybe the AI are pretty poor, but I'm very happy with that. Obviously, Vettel and Ricciardo out the race there, but Delatraz, unfortunately, in 18th place. Yeah, not really pulling his weight. I'm probably going to try and replace him as soon as I can, which is, I think, sometime in July around Hungary or Spa. And yeah, we're up into 12th place now. And we've got a little bit of a gap ahead to Raikkonen and a gap behind to Ricciardo as well, but he's been pretty unlucky so far, to be fair to him. Delatraz still on a big fat 0, up into 8th in the Constructors as well. My rival actually was Stroll, so very well picked from me because we were battling him all race long. But that's going to be the end of this video. I hope you have enjoyed. If you have, then leave a like, subscribe if you want to see more. Comment what you think about the series, and this has been J183, and I will see you next time.